That's where the industrial data, manufacturing data is for the month of May. And it's just not Nigeria. These PMIs are coming through elsewhere around the world today. Now we have something back on anti-corruption. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Chief, Ibrahim Magu, tells banks compliance officers, and that's the officials of banks who relate with the regulator. So if you operate in the market, you need to have what you call the compliance officer. That's the gate man, the man who provides the link between your bank and the regulator, including other sub-regulators in the market and agencies such as the EFCC. So Ibrahim Magu told them yesterday to submit the list of corrupt customers that they have in order to help the agency tame corrupt practices in the banking sector. So the banks are now expected to compile the list of corrupt customers. And that's they're going to find out who is corrupt or not. By what means, we're going to find out as we move on how to determine if a customer is corrupt, perhaps by the size of their bank account. But meantime, this is what the EFCC chief told the compliance officers. He says, we must work together to save this country. Most of the banks are sitting on the water. What does that mean? In fact, some of these banks are almost collapsing. And that's a statement from the EFCC. The EFCC chief says some of the banks in Nigeria are almost collapsing. And when you sit on the water, well, that looks like something is going to happen. Meantime, he says, well, quote, I don't want to be charging banks alongside suspected criminals because doing so can wreak havoc on the economy. And it will even discourage investors from coming to the country. So the EFCC is asking the banks to submit a list of corrupt customers so that banks will not be charged alongside corrupt individuals who have monies or illicit monies in the banking system. And that's the latest from the EFCC about the state of Nigerian banks. That some banks are sitting on water. So 2 months ago, or thereabout, we celebrated the passage of the Chapter 1 of the Petroleum Industry Bill. It's called the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill. Then we had this controversy again about where is this? The legislature, the National Assembly says it has been sent to the executive, to the presidency. Then the presidency says, no, we don't have it. It's not with us. Now we have a clearance because this document hasn't actually left the National Assembly. So there's a setback for the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill because there are fundamental issues that are not addressed in that document. So the National Assembly yesterday asked the committee to send the passed and fully finalized PIGB back to the committee and the legal department to sort it out. And that's where we are at the moment. So the PIGB is yet an unfinished document. This is in the month of June. And of course, we have a lot on our agenda for the new month. First, as everyone would want to see, is a closure on Budget 2018, as well as the finality of the current Budget 2017. We expect the curtain drawdown on the 2017 and a curtain raiser in the next 30 days from the executive when the president should put pen to paper on the new appropriations. Then we have the countdown to the tax amnesty deadline, June the 30th. If you look at the calendar, we're also preparing. We have 30 more days to prepare for the new PENCAM's multi-fund structure, which we explained and spread out yesterday for you here on Pension Asset Managers. The new 4 structures being set by the industry regulator, which will include other asset classes and the age bracket depending on the contributors. And finally, the final preparations for the Abuja's hosting, Nigeria's hosting, for the first time in 25 years, the annual meetings of the Africa Export-Import Bank, headquartered in Cairo, Egypt. We're hosting this almost after nearly 3 decades, and we're also going to be the one hosting the celebrations of the 25th anniversary of that agency. Okay, let's go to the marketplace. Here, a very blistering Thursday to wrap up the month of May. We lost 1.3% on Thursday. That's about 180 billion naira wiped off the value of total equities in our market. So we've finally sunk below the 14 trillion. That's the numbers there. We lost 45,000. We lost all the way to 40. We lost 39,000. We're now at 38,000. Portfolio investors are selling down rapidly on Nigeria's stocks. So let's take you through the primary trading indicators, and that's what you have there. 1.61 billion shares traded yesterday. That's an unusual trading because 1.147 billion of that headline figure on the top end there came through off the floor transactions in Stanbic IBTC, where the parent company in South Africa, Stanbic Africa Holdings Limited, increases stake in Stanbic IBTC Nigerian subsidiary to 64.4% from 53.09%. And that's where that transaction came in yesterday. It was crossed off the floor at 53 naira 75 kobo in 8 deals that were done by Renaissance Capital, one of the world's #1 investment banks, that is who midwife that transactions. Then the other primary indicator, if I had the volume, value there, 71.19 billion. That's quite good. Deals 5,166. But this is what I'm looking at on my screen right now, which is the bloodlet in the banking sector went down a massive 1.10%, but their cousins, the insurance, sidestepped that a sell-off by 0.23%. The only green shoot that we have among the top 5 market indicators of market segments on Thursday. Consumer goods was down 2.59%. No thanks to the big companies in that space. Then the industrial goods was Dangote cement down 1.03%, and that's the bellwether if you're in the market already know. Oil and gas was off track by 0.34%. And where is this oil and gas story coming from? Big cap within that space. That's 40 oil lost 9.09%. Wando lost about 0.75%. If you just bring that up on screen for our viewers to see the numbers in terms of the closing prices, the price change in percentage terms, and of course the volume that drove those movements on Thursday. Wando, 2.301 million ordinary shares. That's quite heavy. 40 oil less than 500,000 shares. Total was unchanged. Eternal Oil, which is a small cap retailer, oil retailer, gained 4.87%. That didn't move the needle, as it were, when you find 40 oil and Wando losing some of their shares. Then you have Japol. On the flip side, that oil maritime services company, massive 17.549 million shares. That's the heaviest transactions in that space. The NESD over-the-counter market was a little bit sluggish. Yesterday, it was finished off unchanged, but we're finishing off at the treasuries market. The central bank, as you heard earlier, at the FX markets is trying to contain misbehavior by banks and BDCs. So what the regulator did was to take about ½ trillion naira off the market via treasury bills auctions on Thursday. This is Friday, the 1st of June, and that you see there the NESD over the market. Let's take a quick break. Then we'll come back to what is taking place right now. Nigerian Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange are having a handshake here in Lagos. We'll take a look at them. We have an interview coming through to you.